we are about to release a new software in the month of June where we have enabled with AI. So the AI will help you to diagnose the lung disease by its own. So one of the most challenging things for us was to design the software, because the forensic pathologists are not IT technicians. They are not really very happy to use. We wanted to design a software where everything happens in one click. You have the body is loaded, you give a click, the body changes to skin layer, and then the next click the body changes to the bone layer.
For your technology, I see it's the turnaround time, right? I mean, that really is the greatest return on investment. And now you're working on the technology to make sure that to have that humanistic experience. Welcome to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. If you ever asked, how do I protect myself and those I love if something unexpected happened to me? You're in the right place. I'm your host, Niki Weiss, and together we'll explore how to protect yourself in a world where both your physical and digital legacy leave a lasting impact. And welcome back to another episode of the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. My guest today is Dr. Hemanth. And Dr. Hemanth, you are actually a co-founder of a conversation we had not too long ago with Ash. And now Ash and you came up with a company called Virtual Autopsies. So welcome to the show, and tell us how you got here today.
Yeah, thank you so much. When I saw your post on LinkedIn, and the title was very teasing, and it was like, okay, somebody's talking about death and the digital age. It's quite so relatable to what we do, because we are a medical tech company into postmortem imaging, and we thought we should strike a conversation, and we should talk more about virtual autopsies.
So we're talking about post-mortem imaging. And for
Yes,
many
that's
people,
right.
so most of us are very familiar with MRI, CT scans, right? So how is your technology now being used, but once someone has actually passed away?
Right. Okay, the normal standard way of doing a postmortem anywhere across the world is the body comes to the mortuary and then you open up the body. When I say opening up of the body, you'll be opening up the skull cavity to examine the brain. Then you'll be opening the chest cavity to examine the lungs and the heart. And then you'll be opening the abdomen to see the abdominal structures like the stomach, intestine, liver, spleen, and so on. And then the pathologist sees what has happened inside the body, and then he closes the body after surveying the organs and after taking the samples. With postmortem imaging, when the body comes, instead of opening the body, we do a whole body CT scan from head to toe, and we download the data from the scanner, and we have our own proprietary software which renders the 3D and the 2D required for the forensic and pathological analysis. And then without opening the body, we peep into the brain, into the structures of the chest and then the abdomen. And if required, we take minimal invasive biopsies of the tissue samples, and then we close the case. So in a very non-technical way, if you want me to say, so what is postmortem imaging? It's basically no scalpel postmortem.
And for many families, I would think that would be a benefit.
It is. The whole motto of our whole idea was to bring the dignity and to the dead body. So most of the times it's very traumatic for the families to see that they already are sad and mourning about the death, and then they have to go undergo the trauma that the body is being cut open inside. So that's number one, trauma. And number two, normally postmortem would take you anywhere between 1 to 2 hours, depending on the complexity of the case. And the whole body scan is done in 2 minutes, and within 15 minutes you should be we will come to an inference of a case. So the body can be wheeled in, scanned, and wheeled out and back to the mortuary van or to the family members in 20 minutes. So from 3 hours to 20 minutes is a great deal. And also it will address the backlogs of the cases in the particular mortuaries. Say, for example, if you have 20 cases for the day, the pathologist will take at least 3 days to clear all the bodies. With postmortem imaging, virtual autopsy, you can so finish all the cases in one day and release the body in one day altogether. So the handing over of the body is very much shortened. The time frame is only 20 minutes. The body comes in, scan the body, examine, and then so wheel it out. So so that gives a lot of relief to the family members. They don't have to wait outside the mortuary for the whole day, and they can so bury the body on the same day of the postmortem examination.
And having spoken to Ash, the other co-founder, from some religions, that's vital. That's very important to respect.
Yes, it's very mandatory. If you name say for Islam and Hinduism and also in so Buddhism, they want to bury the body the same day, so they don't have to wait the whole day at the mortuary. We can release the body in 20 minutes. So that's the upside of it. And end of the day, we are providing dignity, respect, and relief to the body and also to the family members.
Now, this technology isn't necessarily it's not a funeral home that's purchasing this technology.
Okay, typically it depends on what country you are in. Say for in the UK, it's the coroner's office. And if it's any other country like India or Malaysia, it will be the hospitals which run the mortuaries. So they would need these
And from
facilities.
my understanding too, selling in the United States is a challenge right now, and it's March of 2026. Is that coming more because
Yeah.
every state and their laws are different?
Yes. Like every state has a different law, and it's very difficult to navigate at the strategic level because it needs a lot of time and a lot of energy. So we are going one step at a time. As of now, we have our footprints in the whole of South Asia, including India, Malaysia, Thailand, and we are in the Middle East, we are in Africa, and we are in the UK. Yeah.
And then moving into North America through Canada, starting your efforts there. Canada.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And it's Ash who has all the business plans of it. I talk all the science and he does all the
So, what
numbers.
if we're going to talk science here, and let's geek out just a little bit?
Yeah.
What are you most excited about the technology that you've developed?
I'm very much excited to see the 3D of the fractures. Okay, I'll give you my exam. So my experience when I finished my master's in forensic medicine back in India, we used to do at least 15 to 20 cases, and I always had a thought that is there any other way we can change the way we are doing it now? And then there was a research in Malaysia where they were doing the comparative study of they will do actual postmortem and they will also scan the body before the postmortem and then they compare the findings. So we were able to achieve accuracy in 85% of the cases. Say, for example, if it's a case of a heart disease, if it's a case of a lung pathology, if it's a case of a trauma, if you say trauma would be a gunshot injury, motor vehicle accidents,
Like
road traffic accidents,
disfigurement.
apart from, yeah, disfigurement, all of that. So all those cases, we were able to see the exact findings as you see it in the actual postmortem. So then we thought that, okay, now we have this solution, so we need to transfer this into a business model or a model where the uh, the justice or the hospitals should be able to use it. So one of the most challenging things for us was to design the software because the forensic pathologists are not IT technicians. They are not really very happy to use the computers. And we wanted to design a software where everything happens in one click. You have the body is loaded. You give a click, the body changes to skin layer, and then the next click, the body changes to the bone layer. So the doctor has to do just one click to navigate through the whole of the body. And we made the software more simpler and more pathologist friendly so that it can be used by the pathologists. So that was number one challenge which we were trying to figure out. So we came up with our own proprietary software. And the other challenging thing was the development of the medical legal workflow, because when you're doing a postmortem, most of the times it's a medical legal case or a coroner's case. So we need to maintain the chain of custody. We need to maintain the authenticity of the data, because end of the day, the case will go to the court and it will be challenged in the court whether you have the data is the actual data or the wrong data, was there any leak or theft or so on. So then we have to integrate that with a very rigorous forensic information system which captures the whole of the data, and we were able to achieve that. So now you have a software where you scan the body, and the end result of that particular whole software is to give a postmortem report, a digital postmortem report, and which can be produced in the court and which can be given as an evidence. So we achieved doing that. Now the next question is the admissibility in the court, because when we started doing this, so most of the countries, they never had any new rule on whether imaging is accepted in the court of the law. So we need to talk to the government, we need to talk to the Justice Department saying that, okay, how do you make this evidence admissible in the court? So we had to change the laws where the medical legal framework where scanning images and the evidence so will be considered as an evidence in the court. We were able to achieve that, and then we did that, and we since 20s. And also I'll give you a stories. In 2017-18, we were all around the world trying to present our software solution and talk about virtual autopsies. And we were in the conference, nobody wanted to listen to us. They said, so whatever you're talking is the story of a fiction or a sci-fi movie. It's not possible. So please
Well,
don't talk
and
about it.
just to take a pause here to wrap people's head
Yeah.
around, but we already had the technology with CT scanners, and right, and
Yes,
so
we
why would it feel so, or why did people? Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
even as a
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
non-pathologist, I would think,
This CT scanner was like used all the time for
right.
the living, and using the CT scanner for the dead was a new thing. And there was no medical textbook or a forensic textbooks which told about forensic imaging as an evidence in the court. So first you need to educate the one who is doing the postmortem into a postmortem imaging, and then you have to present that to the court, and the court has to accept your evidence. So there's a chain of reaction which happens. So we had to go and talk to all the governments across the world about our technology. But in the beginning, the forensic pathologist himself was not confident enough. He was like, no, I'm very happy to open the case. Why do I have to see through the scan? I'm not really confident and I don't
Because they
believe
felt
in it.
like the pathologists, they, I guess they're like artists, right? That they really feel they need to go
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
body and feel the organs and have that
yes,
tactile
yes,
experience. And now we're just
yeah.
giving them,
The
okay,
Yeah. So the problem was the first problem is they used to tell us that I can't measure the volume of the blood. So how will I tell the cause of death? I can't weigh the organ. How will I achieve that? So we had to build in all those functionalities into our software. Now our software can measure the organ, can weigh the organ, can give the volume of the organ. So we have achieved all of that. Then the next challenging question was to train the forensic pathologists across the world on how it works. Because if your mind doesn't know, so what you're looking at, he won't understand what is he looking at. So we need to train them on, so what is postmortem imaging all about? So we built a training curriculum, we built a training program, and we run a lot of training programs across the world, and we do at least 2 training programs every year. So since 2022, we launched this training program, and we have trained more than 350 doctors across the world as of now, including India, Malaysia, Middle East, Romania, and UK. And so that's where we had a bottleneck, and now we are out of that bottleneck. Now everybody knows, so what is postmortem imaging? And when you go now to any conference in the world, postmortem imaging is the main topic. Back in 2017, nobody wanted to talk about it. 2026, so 10 years down the line, everybody wants to talk about it. So I believe uh, we have done a great achievement. Uh, so personally, I feel that I have done a great achievement in terms of like, we have transformed the whole of the market. Like I won't say market would you sound very so business. way, we have changed the whole of the postmortem examination from a standard traditional postmortem to postmortem imaging, which is virtual autopsy. So I take a lot of pride in what I've done at this point of time, and there's still a long way to go, and hopefully in the next 10 years, I would believe that every country in the world will have a postmortem imaging center.
And where do you think that change needs to happen? Is it really just for physicians, clinicians to know that they can receive and the outcome virtually
Yeah,
versus having to really open up? I mean, and
yeah,
for those that don't know, we're talking about surgical, invasive. The other
yeah,
piece that I wanted to
right.
mention for those that might not be as familiar is that we're talking about when you do an autopsy, it is not for somebody who was in hospice, right? This is for somebody who the death is unknown. So we
Yes,
just want to make sure when you're mentioning court systems and being able to provide evidence, that is where the
yeah,
autopsy is required versus somebody who died in a hospice situation. We know what their cause of death was. So this is just, I would think from the way governments and systems are, they need to change, right? I mean, their protocols,
yes,
their standard
yes,
operating processes to add this technology into their the way they do examinations, investigations.
yes. Yes, I will give you an exercise we did in Kazakhstan. It was back in 2022 where we were invited by the government to talk about our technology, and then we went and we presented our technology. They liked it, but they said that at this point of time we don't have any provision in our law that allows admissible evidence of virtual autopsy in the courts. And then they made their own panel of experts with forensic pathologists,
Yeah.
radiologists, and the lawyers. And they formed a committee. They introduced the new laws into their whole of the medical legal framework. And then they changed the law in a way that, okay, now postmortem imaging is acceptable in the court. So that took us almost 3.5 to 4 years to do that. And uh, and now if you can, Google, it's available on the public domain. That so Kazakhstan virtual autopsy, you will see a whole list of uh, news articles about they want to implement virtual autopsy soon in Kazakhstan. So that's number one. And so number two is, so whenever there is a new technology introduced anywhere in any part of your life, it could be a mobile phone, it could be a kitchen, it could be a car, any new thing, everybody has, no, I don't want to take it. So you need to be very persistent about what you believe in, and you need to make the person believe that, well, so the new technology is more helpful to you than the previous one. So that's the main
That's still a pain
block,
point.
which
I mean, they really have to see
yeah,
whether the financial pain point or the regulatory pain point, what that turnaround. I mean, for your technology, I see it's the turnaround time, right? I mean, that really
yeah,
is the greatest return on investment. And now you're working on the technology to make sure that to have that humanistic experience. Oh, could we just take a little bit of, I mean, if we talk about AI, right? I mean, I would think that
okay.
this technology, and if people aren't aware of the what they call it, the world model artificial intelligence, are you
No,
familiar with that?
yeah,
And I would
I
think that
am. Yeah.
virtual autopsy would be the ideal use case for world model artificial intelligence.
Yes. Well, we are about to release a new software in the month of June where we have enabled with AI. So the AI will help you to diagnose the lung disease by its own. Say if it's a consolidation or pneumonia or fibrosis, the software will tell you whether the lung has one of these. Number two, the software will help you to measure the volume of the organs automatically. You don't have to do anything. You just have a click. It'll measure the whole volume, and it'll also segment the organs separately, and it'll also label the organs on its own
That is
in
amazing.
3D and also in 2D. And number three, we have the auto metal tracking. You click on the AI button. It'll help you to detect all the metals in your body, say if it's a case of a gunshot injury, and the bullet is a very important evidence for the investigation. So most of the times you struggle to find the bullet. But with this technology, with one click within 0.3 milliseconds, the software will detect all the metals in the body. It will also tell you where exactly is the metal, so which will help the pathologist to retract it back with a guided biopsy. And so those are the three, as of now, we have built, which we will be releasing in the month of June.
2026.
We also want to bring in auto fracture detection. But also, the thing is, we don't want to make the pathologist feel that he has no other job to do, because he is the person who has to authenticate and sign the findings. If he's not believing in what the AI has told, he still has his liberty to go through the whole of it and so come to a conclusion, because he's the one who is going to the court. It's not the AI who is going to the court to give the evidence. So building that confidence in a pathologist is a difficult task to do, but we are doing it slowly. So whenever we introduce our software to a new client or a new doctor, we don't talk about AI at all, because we don't want to give a Ferrari to a guy who has just learned how to ride a bicycle. You know what I mean?
Understood. It's an art form. It's an art
Yeah.
form. And so you're basically telling the artist, hey, we're going to replace your paintbrushes with artificial intelligence. So that would be a hard pivot to make. Dr. Hemanth, this was just an awesome conversation. I'm glad that we had an opportunity to circle back with Virtual Autopsy technology. This is a technological death tech company. I mean, you don't get more death tech than your company. And I know we're not in the US yet, haven't penetrated the US markets, but I think the future is not too far away.
It has. I mean, for sure, in another 10 years, I believe that every country in the world will have one of these technologies. And one of the motivation for me to be the way I'm working today is I always believed in bringing in a change. And I come from a land of Mahatma Gandhi from India. My hometown is back in Bangalore. And he has been my role model. He's our father of the nation, and he had told that be the change to see the change in the world. You want to make a change, but you're waiting for someone else to make the change. You don't have to wait. You be the one to build the cat. So that's what makes it. So that what keeps me so motivated for what I'm doing.
And full disclosure, that statement, I have a meme of Mahatma Gandhi and that exact statement in the wall of my office. So we are, this is a calling. I mean, I believe the people that are in this space, I can't explain it, but everyone I've spoken to, we never thought that we'd be here, but for whatever reason, we've been given the instructions that this is our mission. So thank you so much for your time, your expertise in the country.
Thank you so much, Niki. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope to have some more conversations with you soon.
We'll end our we'll end our podcast here. Until next time.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. I hope this conversation inspired you to take control and plan for the inevitable to protect yourself and those you leave behind. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at digitallegacypodcast.com. Remember, life is full of surprises. What happens after you die shouldn't be. So keep your passwords safe and your playbook up to date.